Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got some breaking news coming from especially Moscow. So, if you don't know, the Prime Minister of Hungary and the President of Russia, so Vladimir Putin and Viktor Orban, visited in Moscow in the potential talking about a potential ceasefire that could happen in the war in Ukraine. 2 days before this, Viktor Orban was in Kiev talking with Zelensky. Now he's here in Moscow. So he stated a lot of things between Putin and Viktor Orban. But Viktor Orban stated that the number of countries that can talk to both sides of the conflict is rapidly decreasing. During the talks with Putin, Orban stated that Hungary will soon apparently become the only country in Europe that can talk to everyone. Putin also promised to introduce Orban with the details of Moscow's proposal for a peaceful settlement in Ukraine and list all the proposals. Putin's talk with Orban lasted about two and a half hours long, so they did cover a lot, it seems. And Putin and Orban stated that in the press conference that Putin stated that Russia and Hungary will continue their dialogue in the current complex geopolitical situation, which is important. He called his conversation with Orban very useful. Putin has also called and he insists on the withdrawal of the armed forces of Ukraine from the four new regions in Russia: the DPR, LPR, Kherson, and the Zaporozhian regions. So these is the regions that Russia has occupied here, which technically is now a part of Russia. It's been annexed like Crimea. So he demands this. So everything uh, behind this, in front of this red, yellow line here, everything here will go to Russia. So Vladimir Putin demands that all of this will go to Russia. So all of this under red. So that's quite a bit of land that Ukraine would have to abandon in order to get peace with Russia. And obviously, Viktor Orban obviously said Moscow and Kiev's positions on peace is very far apart. So both sides want the best, absolutely best outcome. Zelensky probably wants all of this land back. Putin wants all of this land to complete the full region into Russia. So very interesting. And the Prime Minister of Orban described his meeting with Putin as a special meeting. So, and while he was going back to Hungary, when he was on the plane back to Hungary, a reporter boarded the plane and asked Viktor Orban some questions. So it's about 30 seconds long video, so just give it a watch.
He is 100, more than 100% a rational person. When he negotiates, when he starts to explain a point, when he makes a proposal, saying yes or no, he's super rational. He, how to say in Hungarian, cool-blooded, cool-blooded, low profile, cool-blooded, very cautious, punctually formation, discipline. So it's a real challenge to have a negotiation and to be prepared if you would like to keep the intellectual and political level of him.
So from that video, you could hear Viktor Orban state that Putin is a rational thinker, he's a rational person, he's a fair man. So maybe there's some hope of ending this war after all. So I just really wanted to show you that video. Stoltenberg has kind of replied to Viktor Orban's decision to visit Putin and talk about peace talks in Russia. Stoltenberg said Orban does not represent NATO in Moscow, only his country. So the Alliance of Secretary General added that the Hungarian Prime Minister informed NATO about his visit to Russia earlier, but the European Commission stated that he did not coordinate this trip with them, so he notified NATO and not the European Union. So very interesting, nonetheless. And also in this meeting Stoltenberg held, he stated that the main topic of the NATO summit that is coming up will be arms supplies and military training for Ukraine. The Secretary General of the alliance also said that the NATO summit will decide on expanding the training of the armed forces of Ukraine in Poland. So very interesting. So they're going to be setting up Ukrainian NATO training bases in Poland. So very interesting. The NATO Secretary General also stated that it rules out the possibility for a land for peace deal with the Ukraine. So it seems that Stoltenberg stated that it won't be letting any land go in a peace deal with Russia. So obviously this is not going to end if Ukraine takes his advice. And Stoltenberg also hopes for the Ukraine's NATO membership by 2034. So he suggested that NATO could finally join you. He stated that Ukraine could finally join NATO in 2034. So very, very interesting. Fico, the Prime Minister of Slovakia, stated that he would have visited Russia together with Orban if it wasn't for his health conditions. So, obviously, if you didn't know, the Slovakian Prime Minister did get shot a couple of times, but he said that he would have joined Viktor Orban if it wasn't for his assassination attempt and his health conditions. Erdogan, the president of Turkey, stated that the approaches of several Western countries are provoking a third world war, while Putin advocates for peace. So I'm going to read bit for bit what he said in this interview, his speech. So he said, obviously, arm deals need money, and the market for arm deals is the West. In his recent statements, Mr. Putin advocates for peace, and I want to believe that the tensions will be reduced and that a foundation for peace will be created. We are ready to contribute to creating and protecting this foundation, as we have done so far, said the president of Turkey. Very interesting. So we've now got three NATO presidents, leaders that are suggesting peace in Ukraine. So Fico, the Prime Minister of Slovakia, Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, and now Erdogan, the President of Turkey. So that's three countries in NATO so far. We've got some news coming from the Labour Party in London. So if you didn't know, the British parliamentary elections did take place, and Rishi Sunak lost the prime minister elections. So Labour's leader Starmer took office as the prime minister of Great Britain, having received the mandate from King Charles III. So there's a new prime minister in Great Britain, Starmer. So very interesting, and it seems that his outlooks towards Ukraine is the exact same as Rishi Sunak's and the Conservative Party. So the head of the British government, Keir Starmer, assured Zelensky that London will continue to support Kiev. This was stated in a statement issued by the Prime Minister's office after a phone call between the leaders of Zelensky and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Starmer, the new one. So nothing different between the foreign policy around the world when talking about the United Kingdom. Also, there was a new defense minister, secretary defense minister in the United Kingdom. John Healey has become the new UK defence minister. And with that, Rishi Sunak actually resigns as the Conservative Party leader. So the British former Prime Minister announced that he will be stepping down as the leader of the Conservatives after the party's disastrous performance in the general election on Thursday. So this is what he is saying in the video. I would like to say first and foremost, I am sorry. I have given this job my all. I have heard your anger, your disappointment, and I take responsibility for this loss, he said. So he stepped down and he resigns as the Conservative Party leader. Apparently, the Deputy Prime Minister of Serbia stated that Serbia is even under pressure from the West and will not give up the right to independently choose its friends. and will not agree to impose anti-Russian sanctions. This was stated by the Deputy Prime Minister of the Republic. Very interesting, and if you can hear this video, so the US ambassador to Serbia, Christopher Hill, smirks and he says that Serbia is pretty much surrounded by NATO countries, and he hints that Serbia should join NATO. So just give the video a quick watch.
But I would point out that Serbia is pretty much surrounded by NATO countries. It's kind of an interesting fact. But whether Serbia chooses to change its military neutrality, change its relationship with NATO, that's up to Serbia. That's a ball that they have to put into play, and it's not for me to tell them what to do. And I have my own views on it, but let Serbia come to its own conclusion.
So he's saying that Serbia, in order, is well. First, he implies that Serbia can join NATO, and it kind of should join NATO. But first, it should obviously get rid of its claim on Kosovo and declare neutrality or something like this. But very interesting. And across the world, the 213th anniversary of Venezuela's independence. So there was a parade in Venezuela, and the crews of the ships from the Russian Northern Fleet also participated in this parade, celebrating the 213th anniversary of Venezuela's independence. So, very interesting, Russia takes part in this parade. There's also been apparently a joint Armenian-American military exercises that will be held in Armenia from July the 15th to July the 24th. The Republic's Minister of Defense reports, and the last news are coming from France. So, Marine Le Pen, so this is probably the future Prime Minister of future President or Prime Minister of France. So apparently she will block the deployment of French troops to Ukraine if the PM seat is secured. So very, very interesting. She seems to not have an interest of sending French troops into Ukraine. She will block all troops. I don't know if she will support any support to Ukraine, but interesting nonetheless. And we got news from Joe Biden. The last news is coming from Joe Biden. So Joe Biden announced that he will be staying in the race with Donald Trump, and he said he will beat Donald Trump again in 2020. So it's 2024, not 2020. So he stated that he will beat him in 2020.
Guess what? They're trying to push me out of the race. No! Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I'm staying in the race. I'll beat Donald Trump. I will beat him again in 2020.
Biden also stated that in this video that I would like you to watch. It's about 50 seconds long, so just give it a watch really quickly.
Elections are about the future, not the past. They're about tomorrow, not yesterday. And the question on so many people's minds right now is, can you serve effectively for the next 4 years?
George, I'm the guy that put NATO together, the future. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought could happen. I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific Initiative with AUKUS. I'm the guy that got 50 nations, out, not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well, to help Ukraine. I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget. And for example, when I decided we used to have 40% of the computer chip, and we invented the chip, that little chip for the computer chip.
So if you just heard that video there, Joe Biden said that he defeated and shut down Putin. So I just really want to talk about this really quickly. So my thoughts on who's winning the war, and some would say Russia versus Ukraine or Russia versus NATO. So Joe Biden right there stated that he defeated Putin. I guess in some areas he's right. As a direct result of this war in Ukraine, NATO grew to Sweden and Finland, which has opened a huge border between NATO and Russia. One of Putin's motives was to stop NATO expansion, and you could say that he has failed, and it seems to me that NATO is more united than ever. On the other hand, you could say Putin is winning. He seems to have secured a land bridge between Russia and Crimea. Russia appears to be the most experienced fighting force in the world right now. The army that went into Ukraine is not the same military that it is now. Russian production of tanks and aircraft and other weaponry have increased. Russia is producing more artillery rounds than all of the NATO, well, more than every single country in the world, not combined, but obviously it's producing the most artillery shells in the world. It's also had an increased economy, so by trading with the powerhouses of Asia, so China and India, and maybe now North Korea. So Russia also seems to be winning in the battlefield as well, with the recent breakthrough in Chesapeake and New York. So very, very interesting. So as I just, well, that's something that I wrote down, but as I was stating there, that I don't know who's actually winning this war between, you could say, Russia and NATO. Because from my point of view, it both have lost. Um, Russia's lost in the way that NATO did expand in more eastwards, obviously Sweden and Finland, as a direct, you know, as a direct result of this war in Ukraine. Russia has won this war. You could say that it secured a land bridge between Crimea and secured its trade in the Black Sea. It seems to be the most experienced fighting force in the world. It's producing the most artillery shells in the world. It's it's now trading with the powerhouses and become even closer to India and China with record-breaking trade. So I don't know who's winning this war. So I would like you guys to comment down below who you think is winning this war. So obviously don't get mad about me and my own analysis, but as again, thank you very much for watching. Comment down who do you think is winning this war, and as always, I am Non-Scene News. I will try and provide you the best non-scene news that Western medias and other medias do not show you. Please consider liking and subscribing to get the daily non-scene news, and I hope all of you have a very nice weekend. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.